the ancient weapon of knowledge that changed human progress. Before armies marched, before empires clashed, before steel ever decided the fate of civilizations, there was another weapon already shaping humanity in silence. It did not spill blood, it did not roar, and it did not demand brute strength. Yet it outlived every sword ever forged. The moment humans learned to store knowledge outside the brain, everything changed. Power stopped belonging only to the strongest. It began belonging to the ones who could remember, record, and pass information forward. This is the story of the most powerful ancient weapon humanity ever created, knowledge made permanent, the birth of writing. Long before books, screens, or even paper, humans faced a simple problem that nearly stalled progress. Memory fades, stories change, instructions get lost. Around 5,000 years ago in Mesopotamia, someone pressed a reed into wet clay and unknowingly rewired human history. Writing was not invented to tell stories or poems. It was invented to track grain, trade, and debts. Boring reasons, massive consequences. The moment ideas could survive their creator, civilization accelerated. Laws could be enforced consistently. Knowledge could outlive kings. Empires could scale beyond oral memory. This was not art yet. This was infrastructure for thinking. What made writing dangerous was not beauty, but accuracy. Once instructions could be written, mistakes could be reduced. Once agreements could be recorded, trust expanded beyond personal relationships. Writing turned scattered tribes into organized societies. It allowed knowledge to stack instead of reset every generation. Progress stopped looping and started climbing. Cuneiform, hieroglyphs, and the first information systems. Different civilizations solved the same problem in different ways, and that is where it gets fascinating. In Mesopotamia, cuneiform emerged as wedge-shaped symbols pressed into clay tablets. In Egypt, hieroglyphs combined sound and meaning in visually rich symbols carved into stone. These were not primitive doodles. They were early data systems. They stored religious beliefs, engineering methods, medical practices, and political power. Control the writing system, and you controlled reality itself. This also introduced an uncomfortable truth. Literacy became exclusive. Knowledge became centralized. Priests, scribes, and elites gained power not because they were stronger, but because they could read and write. Writing was no longer just a tool. It was leverage. Whoever controlled written knowledge controlled law, history, and legitimacy. Empires were not just built with soldiers, they were built with symbols. The alphabet and the democratization of thought. Then came a shift that quietly changed everything again. The alphabet. Instead of hundreds of symbols, language was reduced to a small set of sounds. Suddenly, learning to write no longer required a lifetime of training. The Phoenicians spread this idea through trade, and later the Greeks refined it. This was revolutionary because it lowered the barrier to knowledge. Writing began to escape elite control. Once more people could read and write, ideas moved faster and mutated more freely. Philosophy exploded. Science started asking questions instead of repeating traditions. Democracy itself leaned on written laws and shared texts. The alphabet did not just make writing easier, it made power harder to monopolize. Paper and the acceleration of memory, stone and clay, preserved information, but they were heavy, expensive, and slow. When paper emerged in ancient China, knowledge became lighter and faster. Ideas could travel, records could multiply, bureaucracies expanded, education scaled. What writing began, paper accelerated. This changed how societies thought about time. Knowledge was no longer something fragile. It became something accumulative. Past discoveries could directly fuel future breakthroughs. Civilizations that mastered information storage advanced faster than those that relied on memory alone. This was not coincidence. This was strategy. Libraries as strategic infrastructure. The Library of Alexandria is often remembered romantically, but its real significance was practical. It was an attempt to gather all human knowledge in one place, not for decoration, but for dominance. Knowledge of astronomy improved navigation. Knowledge of medicine increased survival. Knowledge of engineering strengthened cities. Libraries were intelligence centers. Rulers understood this. Knowledge was not neutral, it was advantage. The destruction of libraries throughout history was never accidental. It was an attack on memory itself. Erase what people know, and you control what they can become. The printing press and the final break. Everything changed again when knowledge could replicate itself rapidly. The printing press did not invent new ideas. It weaponized existing ones. Suddenly, information could spread faster than authority could contain it. Religions fractured. Science exploded. Education expanded. Power decentralized. This was the final transformation of the ancient weapon. Knowledge no longer needed permission to spread. It could outrun censorship, borders, and hierarchy. The same principle that began with clay tablets now reshaped the modern world. The scientific method before it had rules. Long before labs, peer review, or official theories, humans were quietly developing a way to test reality itself. Observation, repetition, correction. Hunters learned which plants healed and which killed by watching outcomes over time. Farmers tracked seasons, soil behavior, and weather patterns without calling it data collection. Ancient builders tested materials by failure, not formulas. If a structure collapsed, the lesson stayed. This slow feedback loop became a mental weapon. It trained humans to stop guessing and start noticing. Over generations, this habit sharpened decision-making and reduced blind belief. The scientific method did not appear suddenly in textbooks. It emerged naturally as a survival tool, refined by experience, passed forward through stories, practices, and eventually written records. Mathematics as the invisible language of power numbers may look neutral, but they quietly shaped the rise and fall of civilizations. Early mathematics was not about beauty or abstraction. It was about control. Counting livestock, measuring land, tracking time, predicting floods, and calculating taxes. The moment humans learned to represent quantities symbolically, they gained the ability to model reality. Mathematics allowed planning beyond intuition. It made large-scale projects possible. Pyramids, roads, calendars, trade networks, and navigation all relied on numerical systems. Cultures that developed reliable math advanced faster because they could predict outcomes instead of reacting to them. Math turned uncertainty into strategy. It also created a shared language that crossed borders and generations. Why this still matters? Every modern technology we use today follows the same ancient logic. Capture information, preserve it, share it, scale it. The internet is not a new idea. It is writing at maximum speed. Data is the new clay. Screens are the new tablets. The weapon has not changed. Only its reach has. Understanding this reframes human history. Progress was never driven solely by force or resources. It was driven by the ability to store and transmit knowledge. The societies that mastered this moved forward. The ones that did not fell behind. If this perspective changed how you see history, let that curiosity keep going. Leave a comment with the moment you think knowledge shifted power the most. Like the video if this gave you a new lens on the past. Subscribe if you want more stories that connect ancient ideas to the modern world. Knowledge built civilization once, and understanding it might just help us build what comes next.